Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. So I think there's probably two categories of people who have clicked on this video. One are my fans, you watch most of my videos, some of my videos, you want my opinion on Intel. And then another is people who are invested in Intel and are searching for information on it, and you just happened upon my video. So I want to clarify for everyone watching this video. Feel free to disagree with me, but understand I'm usually not an Intel defender. I haven't been a large fan of it over the last few years, but I still want to give my opinion on it, and it's maybe not going to necessarily be negative. I just want to look at this stock, of course not objectively, we all have our own opinions and things like that, but let's take a look at it. It's really interesting right now in my opinion, and I want to have this discussion. So, last 5 years obviously has not been doing particularly hot. Even the most, I almost said avid defenders, is that a better use of vocabulary? Anyways, defenders of Intel would probably even admit, okay, it has not been a good 5 years. You're down 57%. When we're talking about stocks, that's usually not good unless there's a full-on recession. So, yeah, ignore the 2000 dot-com bubble. Let's just disregard it. Since 2008, you're still up. You're up from, let's say, 12, let's say 15. You're up, but still you would have done much better in the S&P 500 during that time period, so you aren't necessarily happy now. Going up to 2019, you would have been relatively fine with it. And here we are today. So, also, if we look here at the 52-week range, 18.5, you may say, okay, it bounced up from 18.5, who cares? Well, it fell fairly dramatically. A bounce from 18.5 to where we are at nearly 24, that's almost a 30% increase. It doesn't seem like it because we're talking about, smaller numbers. But in smaller numbers, you don't got to move as much to go up a larger percentage. So actually, if you bought in at the very low, I know it's very hard to do it. Even if you bought in at 19, you're still done very well, bouncing all the way back up to 24. That is what, like I said, if you go from 18.5 to about 23.8, whatever, maybe it's about a 30% increase. So that's really pretty good. Of course, almost none of you timed it perfectly, almost hard to do, but let's acknowledge where we're at. We are bouncing, we are going up. We have been getting some momentum, up 21% over the last 6 months. That's really not bad. It's something to think of. So, does it actually matter? So when I look at Intel, what you're counting on, and there is a lot of upside here. If Intel turns things around, there is a lot of upside. The good news is you don't have to be an NVIDIA. You don't have to be a superstar. If you become average, you will do very well. The issue isn't, this is where people might get upset. Feel free to disagree with me. You can dislike, rage in the comments. I don't care that much. I hate to see that happen, but it doesn't matter that much to me. The Intel is not a good company right now. It really isn't. Can it be? Yes. If it becomes an average company, you're going to make a lot of money. Why do I say this? Well, let's take a little bit of a look of the financial side of things. So the first thing that sticks out to me is the revenue. It is high. You have a lot of revenue here. Well, another thing that sticks out, declining revenue, of course, very not good sign. However, it's not the end of the world. If we start turning things around, right, you're down from 79 billion to about 53 billion. Not great, but still, this is an industry where you can have fairly high profit margins, and let's compare it to another company. It has been in the past a bit of a darling, so maybe it has a bit of a increase, a higher valuation, but even now, lately it's been getting fairly slaughtered. I'm fairly knowledgeable about AMD, so it's easy to compare, and they do roughly the same thing. You are doing financially, and of course, there's some PE. You look at the PE of AMD and you say it's crazy high, but there's some money being written off there. So just kind of disregard that. It's actually closer to 30-ish PE right now, maybe 32. But anyways, you are at $160 billion market cap. I know I keep bouncing back and forth. You're $161 billion market cap, and you're doing half as much revenue, $25 billion. Less than half as much revenue. So it would imply to me, even if your margin, your profit margin was half that of AMD's, you'd probably see a bounce roughly to where they are, which is about 161. Like I said, they've been getting slaughtered too. This isn't a company that's hitting crazy record highs on PE. Oh, Ford PE, 10 billion. I know PE looks high, but still. So even in that conservative estimation, you did half as much profit margin of AMD, which is certainly doable in the long term. That doesn't include any increase in revenue. You're still looking at roughly a 50% bounce. So that's why you're looking at the upside here. The upside is there. If this company can start turning things around, start taking some steps forward, whatever it may be, whatever they need to turn things around slightly. There is a lot of room to grow, and that's just how it is. Now imagine they reach an AMD level, or not even that. They start, like I said, if they start growing like an average company, they grow 10% per year. They make a profit margin, not to say 25% depressed from where AMD is. And like I said, this isn't a company that's doing crazy good either, at least by the market standards, right? There is a so much upside with Intel. There is, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen. Many of you are invested in Intel because of the foundry stuff. There's rumors they're going to get broken up, they're going to get bought out, they're going to split, whatever it may be. And there is some value in that too. If they get bought out, you're obviously going to see some upside on whatever the share price is. Presumably they'd buy it at some bit of a premium of wherever the share price may be. If they split it up, of course, it's always done different, but you'd probably get shares in both. You can have that valuable section of the business, whatever it may be. So there is a lot that appeals here, but do keep in mind that it is, in my opinion, of course, do whatever you want. It's a bit of a risky play in the sense that if you were to bet what was statistically going to happen, if you were saying, oh yeah, there's an 80% chance Intel turns things around and becomes an average company, I would probably have to disagree with you. Now, if you said, hey, it's 50-50 coin toss, if it runs sideways for a year or two, you know what, I get that 2% dividend, maybe it goes back down to 20, whatever it may be, I lose a little bit, but it was worth the shot. That's totally fine. I agree with that. Go ahead and do that. And if it's worth the 2x upside, 2.5x upside, whatever it may be, it's totally worth it. And like I said, the foundry side of things too, if they can nail that, there's so much upside. The U.S. government is literally just begging diversification because it's all in Taiwan and China. So many geopolitical things surround that specific section of semiconductors because it's so important. So important. And if Intel can do it decent, there's so much upside. So that's mostly my thoughts on this. This isn't a super deep dive. We're not going to look at every single detail, but clearly, and that's always what you're betting on with the company that's down, is there's so much upside if they can just become an average company. You don't need them to become NVIDIA. You don't. You need them to become a slightly below average company, and there is a lot of upside. But it's just not that right now. But also, I think there's a good chance they catch momentum. If this jumped up to 30, if you bought in, let's say at 20, jumps up to 30, honestly, that's a great win too. It really is, unless it's coming off the back of earnings happening. But I think there's always people, as long as they're around, as long as they aren't literally on the cusp of bankruptcy, there's going to be people when they hear good news, they're going to bet on Intel. People apart from me, because it's such a widely known name. I mean, I was talking with someone years and years ago, back during COVID. I think it would have been early 2021, late 2020. And I was saying AMD, because I was talking about stocks. AMD's going to do well. They've done well since then. I'm still actually up on them, although not as much. But I sold some shares in the 200. But, I'm awesome. Who cares, right? And they were like, oh, no, Intel. Who even knows what AMD is? I don't know what AMD is. I know what Intel is. Intel has the name brand awareness. They do. They have ads on TV. You've seen them. I've seen them. There is so much that can go right if they can get some momentum. If they can start doing things right, there's so much upside. But it's just tough because you've seen them, promises undelivered year after year after year, quarter after quarter. It's difficult, but they still have something. They still have market share. They still have upside. They still have hardworking people working for them, talented people. It's just the leadership's got to right the ship, and they got to stop the bleeding, and they got to just carve out some wins, and then there's a lot of upside. But anyways, I've ranted enough. If you enjoyed, if you disagree, feel free to. I appreciate you for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.